We're moving on down the line to the HSL/grayscale panel. So HSL stands for hue, saturation, luminance. This is where you go if you want to work with a specific color inside of your photo. Okay, really very simple actually. Hue, saturation, luminance, and that's how it's broken up. So what you do is you just take a slider, and you've got control over all these specific colors. So if I go to reds, you could see here I can affect the way the reds look inside the photo. So I can actually change the hue of the reds in the photo to make them more towards orangish or more of that purple color. Okay. Saturation, exactly what you expect. More saturated, less saturated. Okay. And then luminance is going to be brighter or darker. All right. And it works for all the colors. Thing to remember about this is that it's very much, it's affecting the whole photo. So if I come down here to the oranges, well, we have skin color. We have skin tone in the oranges. So as I move, I might be affecting the orange in her clothes, but I'm also affecting the orange in her skin, which is why that seems to change, okay? Especially if you come down here to saturation, I'd be desaturating the skin if I wanted to pull back on some of the colors. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're moving things around. If you're working on a portrait, you could be working also on the skin, so you got to be careful of that. One of the tools that you can use with this is if you come up here to the toolbar, there's this little target adjustment. It's got a little target icon on it. And you can see here, I can control the hue, the saturation, or the luminance. All I have to do is just move my cursor over the image and drag up and drag down. And you'll see it's going to pick what color. So if you just can't figure out what color it is, Lightroom, or not Lightroom, Camera Raw. We're not in Lightroom right now. All the same tools in Lightroom. I teach a lot of Lightroom, which is why I think that came out. But Camera Raw is going to pick the color for you. All right, so if I move it down here over the orange, you can see now it's moving the reds and the oranges together because it knows I need to move both of those sliders if I really want to affect what my cursor is over. Again, you could see here, though, it's moving the skin color as well, so you got to be careful of that. Now, let's switch over. Another way you might want to use this, I've seen it used with luminance, is to come over here to the blues, make them a little bit darker. It kind of gives you that feeling that you used a circular polarizer on your lens. And so you could see here, as I kind of move that, it kind of makes the sky a little bit darker. And that's only under the luminance tab. You don't need to go to the other ones to be able to get to that. Now, the other thing we can do here is convert to a black and white. All right, so if you turn this checkbox on, now we got a black and white. The sliders work the same, except it doesn't have hue and saturation. It's just got basically brightness and darkness. Okay, so now when I come over here, I can affect just the sky. Okay, I can go to my greens and I can affect just the greens. We had reds up here on the barn, right? So I can affect just the reds. So I can come in here and I can mix, call it kind of like a grayscale mixer, a black and white mixer. I can mix my own black and whites. Don't forget, you still have that little target adjustment. So if I'm not sure, especially when it goes to black and white, you might not remember what colors were underneath here. So I could go over and just put my cursor on it. And you can see I can mix and change the way those colors are going to appear. Just by moving up and down. Okay. The other thing I tell people about black and whites is don't feel like you're stuck on the sliders over here inside of the black and white panel. A lot of times you can get some really nice black and whites by coming back over here to the basic panel and changing your settings, because settings that may have worked or may have not worked, I should say, settings that may have not worked when you had the photo as a color photo sometimes work really good when it's a black and white photo. All right, maybe the whites and the blacks, maybe you weren't seeing that big of a difference, but maybe as it's going to be a black and white photo, now you'll see a really big difference when it comes to setting your white and black point. Clarity, exposure, contrast, all these settings, I always suggest people come in here, and when you're creating a black and white, don't feel like you have to stop over inside this panel, because the settings inside of the basic panel can really dramatically change your black and white. Even white balance, even moving the white balance, believe it or not, changes your black and white pretty dramatically. So as you're creating that, just make sure you're kind of aware that you have other tools, even though they're not called black and white tools, for your black and whites. Be aware that you can use some of those other tools to get some really good results from it.